afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Coram and Shreve here with a breakdown of the action in today's session, Thursday, August 29th, where investors had to digest that NVIDIA earnings news, but kind of a roller coaster day, Ken, ending up in a mixed session.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I mean, even when Nvidia was down 2 or 3%, 4% for a good portion of the session, Nasdaq was still holding a very strong gain, and breadth was positive. But yeah, we gave back a lot of that gain. So, watching ServiceNow and GE Aerospace here, both stocks tried to clear new buy points today. Came up a bit short. ServiceNow, NOW, and GE Aerospace is GE. And finally, want to take a look at Wingstop. Still some restaurants performing well out there, and Wingstop is building a new base.
All right, well, we will take a look at those stocks, but first, let's analyze the major indexes. The Nasdaq Composite reversing lower, down about 0.2% by session's close. The S&P 500 ended up flat on the day, also giving back a lot of the gain there. The Dow finished in the green, up about 0.6%, and the Russell 2000, the leader of the day, up 0.7% here, but closing off highs. So back to this roller coaster that we saw in the Nasdaq. I'll even pull up the intraday chart here. So we had a strong start, and as you mentioned, I think a lot of Wall Street watchers perhaps surprised that the market could have an up day and potentially and a strong one at that, even with NVIDIA. A disappointing reaction to the earnings there, down 6.4% by the end of the day, but seemed like a correlation right when NVIDIA started selling off more and hitting lows for the day. It seems like investors had a pain threshold for NVIDIA, and a lot of selling in the latter portion of the session.
Yeah. I mean, we were up 1.3%, I think, on an intraday basis. So to see it turn lower, not a good day for stock market bulls, that's for sure. We had a fairly mild distribution day on the Nasdaq yesterday. I mentioned that this morning on IBD Live. It was fairly orderly decline yesterday. Nasdaq closed off its lows, held some support. Today a little bit different. Volume picked up the pace again, higher than what we saw on Wednesday, and a close near lows. So now we're just questioning if support is going to hold here, or if there's going to be more selling that results in maybe a sharper pullback here. So we've been talking all along about the number of stocks out there that are acting pretty well, and even today with the Nasdaq's reversal, didn't see a lot of terrible damage done to the market. So I think it's still a little early to get worried about this uptrend. There's the market surge growth 250 had a lot of stocks today up 1-2%. So underneath the surface, breadth was pretty good on both exchanges, despite the indexes gave back gains, but. So we'll see. Not a great day for the bulls. Looks like a distribution day, second straight for the Nasdaq, and NYSE volumes going to be a really close call. But S&P 500 was basically flat. So even if volume were higher on the NYSE, I don't think we would count it as distribution.
Right. So the S&P 500 still in a stronger position here than the Nasdaq Composite, which is below its 50-day, right at the 21-day. So I know that's a level that especially active growth investors are going to be keeping a close eye on for the Nasdaq, in addition to Wednesday's low. For the S&P 500, we are above both the 21-day and the 50-day line still, consolidating in a sideways fashion here, Ken, after a big couple of weeks bouncing back from the lows here. So we're still hanging in there, I think, a bit better for the S&P.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it was a pretty sharp decline when the Nasdaq, went above 5,600, sort of that left side high, and then it pulled back sharply, broke through the 50-day moving average. There was quite a bit of volume behind that decline, and now the S&P has kind of resolved that that heavy volume selling with a lot of low volume gains. Now it's been moving sideways. Again, we had a very mild distribution day for the S&P 500 on Wednesday. Volume was higher than the prior session, but still pretty light. So
Yeah.
I would agree that the S&P 500 looks a little bit better here, kind of holding near short-term support levels. But you have the Nasdaq battling at that 50-day line. So that's going to have to resolve itself.
Okay, let's talk about small caps, Ken, the Russell.
Well, the top performing S&P 500 sector today was XLF. The financials and energy stocks were the top performers. So you saw the Russell 2000, was really holding a pretty good gain throughout the day, but it got kind of pulled down late. But a lot of outperformance from financial stocks, I think, helped lift the Russell 2000 over that 2200 level. Got pulled back, by the broad market, but you can see XLF here. Another up session, pretty good volume today too. So underneath the surface, there's still plenty to talk about. There's still there may be a little rotation out of some of these large cap technology stocks, but even that there's still plenty that are holding up well. But retail, financial stocks, home builders still acting pretty well.
Okay, let's talk about the Dow, Ken, and your thoughts on the action today here for 0DJIA in market.
Yeah, in pre-market trading, it was the Dow and small caps that were leading the way before the open today. Big reason the Dow was outperforming was because of Salesforce, which reported earnings last night along with Nvidia. But we can see that Salesforce didn't have a very good day. That 200-day moving average has been a ceiling for several weeks. Yep, just right there. And sure enough, it made a nice strong pre-market move. It was up nicely in after hours yesterday, but boy, big sellers in the stock today, and a pretty nasty reversal, getting resistance to that 200-day line, which is pretty typical when stocks are on downtrends. These support levels that were one-time support turn into resistance, and that's what's happening with Salesforce. So it looked like it was going to be a good day for the Dow, and it probably did outperform a little bit by the close, but tough day for Salesforce.
Yep. And once again, there is a look at the Dow here. It looks like even though closing off high, still another new closing.
All-time, yeah,
All-time closing.
closing high, yeah. So
Yeah.
not too bad a performance considering that sell-off for Salesforce, but yeah, Dow is still in a nice leadership position here.
Okay, so before we talk about the individual stocks today, Ken, something that we need to be looking forward to tomorrow, we have more economic data that is due to come out. Of course, it seems all but certain that the Fed is going to cut rates in mid-September, but what are your thoughts on how tomorrow's economic data might create a little volatility, or at least just generate some buzz on Wall Street of what we might expect in a couple weeks from the Fed?
Yeah, well, it's the final trading day of August tomorrow on Friday too, so there could be some volatility tomorrow. But Ed and I were talking on IBD Live this morning, and Ed mentioned, listen, there was the PCE component of the GDP data that came out today. Second quarter GDP was revised slightly better than expected. So we got a little hint of what the PCE could be like tomorrow in the personal income and spending report. Last I checked, year-over-year core prices are expected to increase a little bit from June. So not going in the right direction, but up 2.8% versus 2.7% in June. So I'm not sure the inflation data at this point is as much a market concern as it was, especially in light of the Jackson Hole speech, where pretty much just said we'll start cutting in September. Still a chance we could get 50 basis points in September, but market is still feeling pretty confident that there's going to be 100 basis points of cuts between the September and December meetings. So we'll have to see if there's a big upward surprise to PCE tomorrow. That could spook the market, but that number's generally been coming in pretty much as expected. So we'll see if it's a big event or not. But again, I think what's more important is that it's the final trading day of August, and sometimes we can get some volatile trading near the end of the day on the final trading day of the month.
Right. And especially with the NASDAQ kind of on the edge here, if, for position traders who like waiting for a Friday close, we'll have to see how this test resolves itself, what kind of day we're going to have tomorrow. Okay, let's take a look at ServiceNow. Ken, your thoughts on the action up 2.1% on the day, of course, with the NASDAQ coming in. This got pulled down a little bit with it off of intraday highs for the day, but definitely a notable chart right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is how investing can be frustrating, because we've had ServiceNow in the leaderboard model portfolio for a little while now, and just thought it was a fantastic opportunity to increase the position. We waited, let the market kind of resolve itself, but this thing really just powered through some recent highs. Volume was heavy. Nasdaq was up more than 1%. It just seemed like a good opportunity to increase the position, because if we're going to add to a position on leaderboard, we're going to do it with stocks that are going in the right direction. We never average down or buy stocks when they're going down to lower our average cost basis. So, the ad that we made this morning, not looking so good by the close here, but we talked about some of these Magnificent Seven stocks look very rough around the edges. You might look at a name like Google, Googl, talking about money sort of coming out of large cap technology stocks. This stock is below the 50-day, and really it just looks like it's ready to consolidate for a little while. But ServiceNow, still holding up near highs here. They did have a really, really good earnings report the last time they announced. You can see that's when it gapped out of that consolidation. So looked like it was going to try to move again today, but really really strong fundamentals here. Bill McDermott is running a real tight ship at ServiceNow, and he was talking a lot about AI when they reported earnings a few weeks back, and obviously it was a positive response by the market. So this one, still has a chance to work here, but got pulled down late with the broad market.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see how it handles not only that 815 level from that prior breakout area, as you mentioned, but also that 21-day line, those two levels coinciding. So we'll be on watch there. Okay, let's go to Wingstop. Ken, forming a base, your thoughts?
Yeah, made a nice move above its 50-day moving average, crossed the 400. Now we've got a market that's looking, a little bit iffy. So Wingstop fell in higher volume yesterday. Not a big rush of selling, but it did fall in higher volume yesterday, and gave back some early gains today. So it's still a good base here. It's just the question is support going to hold at the 50-day moving average? So people that want to buy Wingstop probably going to want to see it get above that 400 level, start rounding out the right side of this shallow base. So at this point, we look at Wingstop as one of the top restaurant stocks out there, and there's a lot of strong performers in this group, but we just like how Wingstop was a big winner after that breakout late last year. It was one of the first stocks out of the gate when we got that the follow-through days in early November, and now it's just setting up in a good base again amid really explosive growth. And this company, I'm not going to say they're early in their expansion, but they are definitely not in the late innings. They still are aiming for aggressive expansion. They've managed that expansion well, keeping their costs low, and it's a good base setting up here. So we're just we're watching it for leaderboard, and want to get an entry, but just need to wait for the stock to consolidate a little more.
Yeah. Okay, and then last but not least, let's go to GE, up 1% in today's session. It's been trading super tight. I mean, this is a stock that does trade in an orderly fashion. It's had a number of months of outperformance here. Ken took a little bit of a break to build a base. How's it looking now?
It's looking pretty good. It just reminds me a little bit of ServiceNow. A stock that tried to break out, pulled back, and it tried to make another move today. Didn't close at its low today. So this one still has a shot. Really looking at that 177.20 high as a legitimate alternate entry here. So we're keeping an eye on this one as well. Obviously, GE has really slimmed down. In fact, GEV, which is the alternative energy spinoff from GE, had a really nice
Yeah,
breakout today. So, and here's
good.
one that the gain held, closed in the middle of its range. So there's a couple of GE stocks here that are looking pretty good. Now, industrials are performing well here. We talked about the Dow being up near highs, so it probably makes sense to have some industrial names in the portfolio at this point, with the Dow performing as well as it is. So I think GE and GEV are good stocks to watch here.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that, Ken. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. That is it from us for today, but we'll be back with more tomorrow morning on IEBD Live. And we hope you all join us, investors.com/IEBD Live, for all the details on that. And we'll see you there. Also, we'll see you right back here tomorrow after the close.